words. Now, the goal in this lesson is not to memorize a set of sentences, 记住一组句子, but to internalize the story, 神话故事. By grasping the main ideas, grasping the key pieces of vocabulary so that 随时随地 you can always bring this story up in conversation. Okay, if we want to have any story ready to be able to tell in conversation, we need to have a basic understanding of the structure of all stories. Those parts you need to grasp for a brief summary are background, 背景, statement of a problem, 问题的陈述, rising action, 提上, climax, 高潮, falling action and conclusion, 淡出和总结. In a summary, each of these phases is probably going to be not much more than a sentence or two. Let's talk about background first. In the background, we need to try to give all the necessary information to our listener so that they can understand the story we're going to tell them. I'm sure all of you have had the experience where someone is telling you a story, but you just can't follow what they're saying. 你就跟不上他们在说什么. Right? Well, that's nearly always because they haven't done enough to set the scene, 或者设定场景. So, for the background to this story, we're going to need to tell people the where, the when, and the who. The where, of course, is Hunan province. The when is the early 1960s, and specifically a time of great food shortages. The who is a young agricultural expert, Yuan Longping. Okay, let's first of all list out our key words and phrases for this first part, this background of the story. 1960s, Hunan province, a time of great food shortages. A young agricultural expert called Yuan Longping. Okay, let's try to put it all together into a sentence. Yuan Longping was an agricultural expert living in Hunan province in the early 1960s during a period of great food shortages. Okay, I'm going to put that sentence on the screen for you now and take a good long look at it. All right, that has given us the basic background information. Now we need to try to describe a problem, 就是描述一个问题. And the problem in this story is that Yuan Longping wanted to find a way to use his expertise, 运用他的专业, to help find solutions to food shortages. He wanted to achieve this by creating higher yield strains of rice that were also suitable for withstanding local conditions. 因地制宜, as well as being able to be grown economically. 也就是说，他也要实现一个降低成本的一个目标. Okay, so let's look at our key phrases again. Use his expertise. Find a solution. Higher yield strains of rice. Okay, let's now put these together in a sentence. He wanted to use his expertise to find a solution and create higher yield strains of rice. And then next, what we need to do is to describe what the challenge he faced was. So, what was the challenge? Well, he needed rice that was not only higher yield, but also rice that could adapt to the local environment and, furthermore, was economical. The only way to solve the problem was through dogged persistence, 执着的坚持, and careful examination of local varieties. So we'll summarize all this in the following way. An important part of the task involved going out into the fields to examine individual stalks of rice to find ones with strong enough characteristics to cross-fertilize with other types of rice. Okay, now in this section I have also mentioned quite a few complicated words such as cross-fertilize and examine. Examine just means to look at carefully. And of course, cross-fertilize is the core of this story. What Yuan Longping was constantly trying to do was trying to find different types of rice with different characteristics and match them together. He needed, on the one hand, rice that would produce more grains per stalk, but he also needed rice that was suitable for the local environment. So he needed to find rice from other areas that was higher yield, but he also needed to find the best possible specimens and varieties of rice from the local area. Okay, now, to round off the story, we need to conclude in some way. And the best way to conclude is by discussing what the story means to you. 也就是说，这个故事对你意味着什么 and why you're choosing to tell it. So, what is the reason for telling this story to foreigners? First of all, it will help foreigners understand what incredible difficulties and challenges China faced as recently as the 1960s. It will also help foreigners to realize the kinds of efforts that people like Yuan Longping underwent to try to meet these challenges. It is also a story that celebrates persistence, 赞颂坚持性, and also celebrates Yuan Longping's hands-on approach to science. 赞颂袁隆平对于科学的实践方法. He was not satisfied just to stay in the realm of theories or in the comfort of a laboratory. He knew only that being out in the fields could he possibly find a truly workable solution to his challenge. So let's conclude in this way. Yuan Longping's story is inspiring because it reminds us how recently China faced really serious and major challenges, while also showing us the value of persistence and willingness to get your hands dirty in the pursuit of scientific progress. Okay, now let's put our whole summary all together. Yuan Longping was an agricultural expert living in Hunan province in the early 1960s during a period of great food shortages. He wanted to use his expertise to find a solution and create higher yield strains of rice. He needed rice that was not only higher yield, but also rice that could adapt to the local environment and, furthermore, was economical. An important part of the task involved going out into the fields to examine individual stalks of rice, to find ones with strong enough characteristics to cross-fertilize with other types of rice. Yuan Longping's story is inspiring because it reminds us how recently China faced really serious and major challenges, while also showing us the value of persistence and willingness to get your hands dirty in the pursuit of scientific progress. Now, don't try to memorize this paragraph, but try to remember its content, and then practice using your own words and some of the vocabulary here to tell the story succinctly and concisely. But that's it for today's class, so bye for now.